We have talked a lot about creating your own content, but today we're actually going to do it. We're going to write a short film live.
Acting Class Weekly with legendary character actor Sean Whalen. Lessons, tips, and insight into the craft and business of acting from a man who's been directed by the likes of Spielberg, Eastwood, Tim Burton, Ang Lee, Michael Bay, Wes Craven, Tom Hanks, and many more of Hollywood's A-list. He is 30 years an actor and your professor, Sean Whalen.
Roxy.
Sean.
Doug's back.
Guess who's back?
Doug, guess who?
Yeah. That song?
Yeah. Eminem.
Hip. T proudly.
Hashtag T proudly. Guess who's back? Yes, Doug is back. We had him on helping us talk about creating the kind of simple rules of designing content, fleshing out your idea. Today we're actually going to do it.
We are going to do it.
We are going to do it, and we have suggestions from all you guys. But let's obviously take care of the elephant in the room. Why the sweater, Roxy? I want your guess.
Professor of you?
Yeah, we know we've said
Creative,
that, but
you got to be comfortable to write?
I feel like Mr. Fantabulous, Jeff Graham, as always in the booth, will know why this sweater works for today. I'm hoping.
Sean, I feel I'm about to disappoint you because the very first two things Roxy said, I was like, maybe it's professorial. Then Roxy said it, and I was like, well, you got to be comfortable. Oh, shoot. So if it's neither of those.
It's writerish.
Oh, writerly.
Writer, it doesn't this feel like a writerish?
I count Roxy's answer as well.
Yeah. Which one? The second one?
Yeah.
Comfortable to write.
Yeah.
Professorial,
that's
right?
true. That's true.
Dignified.
Not just comfortable in your life. You don't always have to be comfortable. In fact, it's very good to be uncomfortable sometimes.
That's where growth comes from.
Remember that, Gen Z millennials.
That's another show. So, as always, I introduce Mr. Fantabulous, Jeff Graham, but also Miss Phenomenal, Roxy Striar.
So excited about this one today,
and
Sean.
And my old friend, Doug Van Bebber, friends for 30, what is it now? We don't need to talk about it.
Right.
It was the days of, taking some curds and making some cheese.
Churning some butter.
Was
this in 1945 when my tea was steeped?
Yes, your tea was steeped. Exactly.
Hashtag churn the butter.
Yeah.
Hashtag churn the butter. Butter churn.
Yeah.
Hashtag. So this is so fun, guys, because we are going to take the suggestions that I got off of Facebook, off of my different pages, and we'll explain the breakdown of that. But we're going to take these ideas. Here's how the show is going to work. We're going to take each idea. We're going to have an object, a relationship, an interesting place. We're going to pull one of those, and we're going to design and break down a scene. What should we be looking for, Doug, when we do this today, when we're starting to piece this together? What are the outline that we should be looking for?
Like sort of the broad strokes are who are they, where are they, what we say establishing the world.
Okay.
That starts it off. Like what is their relationship? Then once you establish that, then you can move into, okay, what is the conflict? Because every scene is about a conflict.
Which we talked about on our last episode. Listen to it if you didn't hear it. And then
reprimand him, Sean. Why didn't you listen?
If you don't make excuses to me, kids.
Play like a champion.
There you go. But before we dive into our bags, and I don't mean the ones under my eyes.
But
well, I'm warming up for the comedic writing.
So good.
So good.
Really played well.
We're going to get into Sean's Week on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sean's Week.
Very solid.
Epic one.
Very solid. I felt very good about that one. So, an amazing week for me. Yesterday, I had one of the best auditions I had at one of the best houses or best casting offices in town. The nicest thing was everybody was getting readjusted, and
everybody prior to me
was doing it twice because they gave him notes, and the casting director turned to me and said, you don't really have to do it again. And I said, anything different? She said, no, it was perfect. So that was really nice to hear. And the thing is, I did walk away, and my agent said, you've got the right attitude, because I said, even if I don't get this part, because in the room were these amazing character actors that I knew very well, but they were all different shapes and sizes. So even if I don't get it, I made an impression at a very important casting office. So that was great.
Way to go, Sean. Just keeping up with the same.
I feel like maybe there's a way to do that.
Encore.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Doug and I finished our little package. It's called a pitch deck for our psyche, and we will see what happens. Again, we can't tell you too much, but we got the nice little. We'll show you the nice cover page, and it looks really cool.
Yay.
We're very excited about it. Very happy about it. Fun episodes and everything. I'm starting to prep for my trip to Memphis next week. If you're listening in the Tennessee area, I'm going to be in Memphis next Saturday, October 19th, teaching improvisation towards creating your own content, and really diving into living truthfully under imaginary circumstances in the afternoon scene study. So I will be there Saturday the 19th.
Might you be walking in Memphis?
I'll probably be Ubering.
Oh.
Sorry.
You got my... Did you
I
get
do.
it or no?
Wait, don't tell me his name. It's something with an M. Mark Cohn. C-O-H-N. Mark Cohn.
Mm-mm.
Yes, it is. Mark Cohn sang Walking in Memphis. Yes, that's Mark Cohn.
I don't think so.
Mr. Fantabulous.
I'm currently looking up the Internet's Bible thing written by Rox. I'm sorry.
It is?
Mark Cohn.
Yes, dude. I had that album.
It's with a C though, so I think both of you are wrong.
I didn't know the answer, and so I figured.
So you just went for it.
Well, you said it was
bold.
a name, and I was like, the likelihood that it's that name over any other of the billions of names out there. I don't know.
What reasoning is that? I have no understanding what the reasoning
I don't know.
of that
I thought it was John
be.
Mellencamp, so that's actually what
I
happened.
did too. I totally did too.
You did too? Does he do a
What?
cover or
Yeah.
something? I don't
No,
know.
he doesn't sound like that or even do. And he plays guitar, and Mark Cohn is a piano
really
player.
thought
He
it
was
was
married
John
to the journalist.
Mark Cohn's married to the journalist?
Yeah, the female journalist.
Oh.
Roxy.
Wait, no, I might be thinking of somebody else.
We're all a mess.
I'm thinking
today.
of John Mellencamp.
It's because you said you had such a great week.
They both
we had
have,
to ruin
they
it for
both
you.
have dark hair and are kind of Central South. That's about it.
Also, Doug was right. He married a journalist named Elizabeth Vargas.
Elizabeth Vargas, I was right. Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
She's
Don't doubt
ABC.
yourself.
The only one who's
Thank
not
you.
right about any of these things is, in fact, me.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Sure.
and then I also got to do a fabulous Tomorrow show last week after our show.
Which is great.
So fun, really great. They threw me right in. I jumped right in.
Ooh, we threw you in.
You threw me in the deep end, and I was swimming.
Good
I
for
was
you.
swimming. I remember, for me, if you listen to it, halfway through, I was getting a couple kind of blank stares from you guys, and I was like, "Oh, I've rambled a bit, and I think I'm a little off topic." And Roxy's like, "Wait, can you bring it back to what we're talking about?" I go, "I'm getting there. I'm getting there."
You did, though. You full circled it.
I took a long way around, but I definitely got there. And then exciting news that I'm just gonna do a little National Enquirer headline. Keven Undergaro and I talked about a possible new venture for yours truly. So we'll see. We will see what's coming up. Very exciting. So very neat.
Very
so
blind item.
yes, exactly. Blind. So that's another thing that would be happening here at AfterBuzz, and the way to make things really work here at AfterBuzz, we need you to participate.
Very
Roxy,
true, Sean.
Come on, that transition was
that deserves
that
a
was
pound.
a good transition.
Who really deserves the pound, though, is you guys at home for all the help you guys give us. We really appreciate it. When you rate, comment, and subscribe, why do those things matter? Because they help with the algorithms, things with math that Sean and I don't fully understand, which
Don't
is
really
why
know.
we are actors. But when you comment, we do know that we read those comments and we know what to talk about on this show, which is really important because we want to answer the questions you guys have. We know that you want to be able to create your own content, which is why we've been focusing recently on how to actually make your own content, like today and last week's show. So hopefully that's something that you guys are looking forward to. Also, when you're rating, don't forget that thumbs up, that 5-star wherever you are. Give us the most amount that you possibly can. We love that. I have a comment that I wanted to read.
Ooh-wee.
Actually, I know he's a fan of the show, but he's also a producer here, so I wanted to give him a shout out to
Wow.
Ryan Nelson. Thank you so much for this comment. This was via Apple Podcast. He said, very informative, a must listen. That's the title of it. And he gave us 5 stars,
Nice.
which I always love. Tremendous podcast. An aspiring actor. As an aspiring actor, I find this podcast to be very informative and at times inspirational. The perspectives offered by Roxy Striar and Jeff Graham are great as well. It's so cool to see Roxy grow as a performer and book more and more jobs while Jeff speaks up on the background work he used to do. Great job to Sean. Keep up the awesome work.
Wow. The
So
trifecta.
thank you.
The little
Thank
trifecta.
you. Yeah, it's all about The trifecta.
The
as you
trifecta.
said. So we appreciate that. I read comments every single week. So if you guys write them on YouTube or Apple Podcast or wherever you are, there's a really good chance you'll get a shout out right here on the show.
All right. So this is exciting and scary, but I think we're all up for it. So this is building off of what Doug left us with, and then Talay and Jason kind of expanded on it with talking to production. The community. Now, this is obviously something you could do by yourself with the same ideas and tools that Doug will walk us through, but it is really fun. And for me personally, honestly, I just do so much better when I'm writing with somebody. I just find that my ideas go better when I'm bouncing off somebody. How about you, Roxy?
Yeah, I also love it because it gives me a chance to see people that I otherwise don't have time to see. If it has to do with work, then I can always find a way to make time for it. So
yeah.
Some of my closest creative friends, I always like to catch up with them by doing something like this so
Yeah.
that we're moving both needles at one time.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's a full expression, but you guys get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Gotta move
Yeah.
both
And
needles.
you write mostly by yourself, though, Doug, right?
I do write a lot by myself. However, like you and I write great together because
Right.
that's sort of what we always did since the time
Yeah.
we were young, was just get together, make jokes, crack things back and forth, and find things from there.
So that's a great takeaway from this, is that, when Doug and I wrote after the first time after 30 some years, it was just so easy, but it's because we had, on my favorite show, Love Island, banter. We always had good banter. We always gave each other a lot of stuff. There was never really ego involved. We just it was almost fun to make each other laugh, so it pushed us creatively. We surrounded ourselves with guys with amazing sense of humor, guys and girls that had great sense of humor.
Yeah.
So it sharpened us in that way. Mr. Funtabulous, do you usually write alone or with people?
I've done both. The very first thing I wrote out here, I co-wrote, and I love doing that, but I also have done a number of projects on my own, so I think there's great benefit to both.
Yeah, so we have all experienced writing, and we've all dipped, the acting range, we're all on the spectrum of how much acting we've done, but the writing is there. And so we're all four going to dive in today, but first, what we're going to do is everyone gave suggestions online, so we're going to pull in our bags to find out 3 crucial elements. Doug, tell us why these 3 crucial elements are good as a workshop.
What are the 3 crucial elements?
Yeah, let's tell them.
We have a relationship between 2 people. We have an interesting location, and we have an object.
Right.
You can use different things. You can use, I know before in my class, I've also used things like a big life event, which could be a birthday, a wedding, a funeral, anything. These sort of ground you in sort of a foundation, so kind of know what you're writing. Because I find that when I'm teaching writing, one thing that's kind of scares the students as I give them more and more freedom is they're like, oh, you told us what to do last time, and now I'm left to my own devices.
Any of them, yeah.
So this is just something. I mean, this is honestly something anybody can do,
right.
And it's a great foundation. You can have your friends do it. You can throw stuff into a hat, and you guys can get together with your friends and just pull things out and say, okay, let's see what we can create.
And obviously you can write from your own life and something that you've seen or heard on the street, which again we talked about last time. But what's great is this is just a fun exercise to just stimulate you thinking, anyone can come up with ideas if given a little bit of a guideline. So let's
just as a side note to everybody, I have no idea. Sean has no idea. Doug has no idea what are in these bags. Jeff has no idea.
Yeah, Mr. Fantabulous?
I don't. We had a very wonderful intern, John. I said he'd shout him out, handle all of this.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. All right, so
shake it up.
Okay. Ladies first.
Thanks for listening. I don't know how much shaking.
I think
Ladies
you have to,
first.
no, you
Okay,
have to
so
stir.
I've got the relationship between 2 people bag.
All right.
So I'm stirring it up. Nobody's calling me a cheater.
Ooh, I like the drum roll.
2 long lost cousins.
Okay. 2 long lost cousins.
This suggestion was via Jamie D. Brink. Thank you, Jamie D. Brink.
Thank you, Jamie D. Brink.
2 long lost cousins.
2 long lost cousins. We like that.
I have an interesting location. I'm closing my eyes because I'm not a cheater either.
Good for you.
Thank you. My interesting location is the DMV.
the DMV, two long-lost cousins. The interesting location, the DMV.
And that is from Dave LaPass.
Dave LaPass, thank you
so much, Dave.
And then this is going to be very interesting, cousins, and I'm shuffling because I am kind of a cheater and I don't trust myself. So
but he's not looking at them. They don't know that you're not. It looks like you're looking at them.
Oh, no,
he's shuffling face down.
Sorry. I'm shuffling them, but they're closed, so I cannot see. I cannot see anything.
He's also not a cheater.
I'm spreading them out like you would if you're shuffling cards. All right, I'm pulling something from the center. The object is a roll of toilet paper.
Yes, it is.
And we have that contributed by Tim Atkinson. Thank you, Tim. Thank everybody.
Tim Atkinson.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. We appreciate it. We got it, Roxy?
Yep.
DMV, distance. Go ahead.
Just jump in and say something. That's something I also tell my students. I know you've done this before in your class. When you're doing this, don't cheat and like with an object and just make reference to it and then say, oh, well, we use it. It has to play an integral part. All of these things have to play some kind of integral part to the story.
So can it be, that's a good question that I have, Doug, is that something that could maybe help kickstart a conversation? Do you consider that integral even though we don't talk about it all the way through?
Yes, yeah. What I'm saying about it can't be integral. It's like if it were a spoon and we're having a conversation about something, oh, pass me that spoon, and then you pass me the spoon and we keep going on. Okay. That wouldn't really be integral.
That's kind of an aside or a throwaway.
That's the way sometimes people go, oh, well, I made reference to it.
Right,
but it's
right,
not
right.
helping. This is to sort of to stimulate your imagination.
Okay, so just as a reminder, everybody, it's two long lost cousins, the DMV, and a roll of toilet paper.
Mr. Fontabos, how are you feeling about those?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I feel like there are versions of this that I could really see happening. So,
yeah, exactly.
Immediately, I have a ton of thoughts. As
Yeah,
well.
I do too. Yeah, exactly. So obviously we have our location. So Doug, you said something about the location or the area. What do you mean by that? Like the things that that thing brings up for us personally, or what we feel about that place? Or?
It can be what we feel about that place. But when I say like establish the world, it's
yes,
also
establishing the world.
Establishing the world. The world is, we know it's the DMV. So now we got to figure out what is the world of these two cousins. They haven't seen each other. So, for instance, is one of them coming in to get a driver? And I don't want to jump ahead, but is one of them there to get a driver's license, and they come face to face with their long lost cousin who's working the counter?
That's kind of what I was thinking. How about you, Roxy?
I have a lot of toilet paper thoughts.
You got
I have a lot of toilet paper thoughts.
Oh, the younger generation. What is happening? We're establishing a deep relationship and where to go, and you're already at the toilet paper.
I'm at the toilet paper. Well, I think toilet paper is such a great suggestion because it can be used for so many different purposes.
Yeah, exactly. I like the idea of having them. Now, listen, the way this is going to work, we're going to pitch and then we'll go with the majority. Okay? So my pitch is that I do like that one is working there and one is not working there. I like that. Does anyone, any other ideas or iterations that you might have thought of?
No issues with that. I think that other options could be that they're both in there to do something. They're both in line. Those are probably the two main options.
I feel like there's probably more opportunities for conflict if
one of them's working.
If one of them's working there and someone needs them.
Like if one of them has to go in there to do their eye thing, because I know that I've gone in last time and almost didn't pass.
I love that idea.
And
so go ahead.
Now, are they going to let him slide on the eye test?
Right.
Or are they going to be staunch? No, this is my job.
Right. So that's another thing we talk about also in acting, guys, is the objective.
Right.
The objective of one of the characters and the objective of both characters. What do they actually want to get out of this interaction? And that's another reason why I think the DMV wanting to get something is great.
Well, I think the conflict between two people, have you guys been to the DMV where they are taking one more person?
What do you mean?
You've been there all day, you're waiting hours and hours, and they're like last person.
Oh, when they put the sign out?
Yeah, like
You
there's
mean
one
and
more
then, like,
person,
come back
and then
later?
so then one person gets
no.
that final talk at the DMV. The other person has to come back for hours the next day.
Wow.
Those are the conflict situations between. I mean, people get aggressive.
Well, yeah.
People can get aggressive. So
Yeah,
but
I like.
I do like worker as well. Though.
I like the worker there, and I like, and I do like the idea of wanting. I mean, that thing scares the crap out of me every time. I do. Well, I'm not advocating this for unsafe driving, but I sometimes possibly try to memorize the list while I'm up there because. But I listen. I can obviously drive well-ish.
I peak. I always peak.
What does that mean when you do this?
Yeah.
You have very thin, very attractive fingers,
Thank you so much.
but that's how do
this
you?
is what I do.
Okay, that is. Look at that.
I have
can
a feeling
totally see that.
A pretty girl can get away with that a lot better
see
than
this?
we can.
Yeah, I think the three dorky men here would say that pretty girls can maybe get away
Well,
with
I
a
resent
little
that.
more.
I consider myself a beautiful girl. So
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
true. I'm sorry about that. But I like that idea. That wasn't an insult, by the way. Saying you were
pissed.
livid.
Furious.
I
Livid.
want to
Talk
applaud
about conflict.
One thing I like about Sean's recommendation for up-and-coming actors and writers is there's a status thing that you're leaning into, and they oftentimes say that a high-status, low-status character relationship is really rich for conflict. So
Okay.
I think the employee-customer thing is always, there's a transactional relationship between those two, but one,
Right.
I think it naturally lends itself to a nice status differentiation between the two characters.
So if we say one wants something from the worker, let's start pitching what they would want. I do like the idea. I think that should be in the mix. Does anyone else have an idea what someone could want that would be fun to mine?
What are you saying your idea was?
What is the customer coming in for? Like Doug suggested the eye test.
Right.
I like that idea. Does anyone else have any other ideas of
They
what?
could be coming in to register their car and don't have all of their paperwork in order. Because
Okay.
I've had that happen too. If like,
Okay.
I'm sorry, you don't have everything that you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
those are the main ones you go to the DMV for. Parking
test.
permits as well.
now we could also do distant cousins where they have has a daughter or a son who's getting his permit and he maybe didn't pass the test or something, and
Who has the daughter son?
the customer. Maybe that convolutes it though. It might convolute. We probably have enough with just the two.
One thing that I think is interesting is that he says they're long lost cousins. Why are they long lost? And what is their history
That
they
makes
have?
them lost.
And when they see each other, do they know each other? Are they that long lost that they don't even
Takes a
recognize
minute.
each other
Yeah.
anymore? How long is long?
Yeah. I think
to give them some history, they know each other. And
Yeah.
there's something.
They're
in
lost
their
on
past.
purpose.
It
Yeah.
could be. I mean, if they're going to be, like cousins from where I'm from, did they date? or did they? One of them got the inheritance that the other one didn't get, and that's why they're working at the DMV.
From grandpa?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
grandpa's. I see what you're saying. Maybe it was really distant. Maybe the side family or something. You know what I mean? Where someone had his one life, but then his side family. That now that wouldn't be a cousin.
No, I
then.
like cousins where grandfather had a ton of money and
Okay.
for some reason we can figure out left it to the one who is now the customer at the DMV
Okay.
with his or her fur and minks and all of the money and everybody has to go to the DMV and the DMV worker, as many of them are, pissed to be there.
Yeah,
disgruntled, never got a dime.
Right.
He's got to get his new Ferrari registered because he's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on a trip.
Driving. Yeah.
And it's so annoying to go to the DMV. Oh, having to
Right.
come here for 1 hour is killing
Right.
me.
All right. So very interesting points because I'm hearing some pronouns thrown around. What do we feel the sexes should be? Should they one be a male, one be a female, both male, both women? Any thoughts on that?
I think the same sex because I don't think we're trying to make any statements about why the grandfather would pick one over the other one
that's a good-
necessarily.
I didn't even think of that. That's a great thought. So when you're thinking of your conflict, a really good thing to think about is kind of, throwing the pebble in the water, and what are the things that will reverberate out. And that's a really good point, Roxy, is that you don't want it to make it about, it's a male versus female thing. So that's a really good point, because you have to think of, it's almost like making your chess move. You have to look at it, but then see the 3 steps ahead and go, well, I don't want to detract from what we're talking about.
And don't you think the 2 men would have more rivalry, or 2 women would have more rivalry than a male-female cousin wouldn't have as much, if we're going to go with the rivalry route?
Yeah,
Probably,
I like the rivalry route. So then where do we lean? Do we lean to women or to men? Does anyone have a preference?
I think it's funnier to see 2 men go head to head with this than women.
With some more bravado.
Than the cattiness of.
Right.
That would be my vote, but I could see the other side of it as well.
Here's the craziest thing in the world. I've just been listening to Carol Burnett's. She has a book about all the 11 years she did her show. And so I thought, I want to see a sketch of hers. It's putting me in the mood. And she had this character, Eunice, from the family and Mama's Family, and her really highbrow sister was Betty White. And I saw a scene of her and Mama going to this really fancy party.
See, that's kind of
Betty
amazing
White's.
too, though.
Yeah, but because I feel I just saw that, I want to stay away from it. And that's another thing that I really, really feel. If you say, I want to do I want to do a horror movie, and I wanted to do a bunch of people on a camping trip or a vacation or a camping thing, and I want them to be, murdered or whatever with this crazy person, then watch all the movies that are like that as roadblocks to say, I don't want to do that. So if you saw what I just did, I said, because that's fresh in my mind, I feel like it'd be easier for me to plagiarize than not. So I want to avoid that. That's why I like the 2 men. Mr. Funtablis, you on the roll. How do you feel about this?
I am, and I also want to echo what Roxy said, where I feel like it's a little easy to lean into 2 catty women. I feel like we see that too much. So maybe we stay away from that.
Okay. Go ahead.
And it just hit me that the DMV worker has just been promoted to manager or something that he's very proud of. But then he gets his more successful cousin.
So, but
he can wield more power over him in this
situation.
World.
Yeah, have we all seen? And which I love drunk with power, smaller positions. I remember that was at a parking lot, and a guy was walking around, and he gave me a ticket on my car, and it looked like a parking ticket and everything. And I thought, what is this? And it said, hey, you were parked too far over the line. You better. And it was all official writing. And then I was, what is the consequence of that? Like, literally, there was nothing. He's just like, you don't want another one of these pieces of paper under your windshield wiper. And I was like, okay, I'll try to park in the lines next time. But there was no, accountability whatsoever for my mistake.
And quickly, while we're talking about character relationships, it doesn't need to go, but interestingly, I don't have any cousins, so it might be interesting if one of them recognizes the cousin but the other doesn't.
Interesting.
I don't know. It doesn't need to be in there, but if it enhances the scene, especially if it gives the reason to piss off the employee.
Like the one that's made so much money has had so much plastic surgery, they're no longer recognizable.
That's funny, too. I love that.
That would be great if they were in their mid-50s, or, maybe the DMV guy's close to retirement.
Yeah.
And closer to a retirement age. So, sorry.
Probably if we're doing this as a short, it probably will make it a little more complicated if only one cousin recognizes the other cousin.
I think that's a really interesting conceit, but I agree with Roxy, because I think you need to get that's the conflict.
Can you talk about that, getting to the point and how we can get there quicker? How do people get there faster? Showing, not telling, like stuff like that.
Well, I mean, there's a number of different ways you can do it, but I think last time we talked about the definition of conflict is a person who wants something, and then there is somebody or something that is standing in their way, and that thing that's standing in their way is as equally powerful as the thing that the person wants. In this situation, if we're going to do the DMV thing, what the guy wants
Is the registration for his Ferrari.
Ferrari. But the thing that's standing in his way is his puny little cousin
That's bitter.
Who's bitter, who has power over him. And he's got to get this registration done today because...
Because, right. Yeah, and why?
Because he's
why does he need this now? Because he...
Maybe it's a surprise gift for his hot new wife. You know what I mean? I think that would be really
his
great.
new trophy wife.
His new trophy wife.
When do we talk toilet paper?
I was
That's
just
what
about to
was
say,
just
I am
gonna
dying
say.
to
It's
find
time.
out
All right,
Roxy's
I
toilet
know.
paper talk.
Roxy has been just steaming over
Yeah,
there,
but you know
ready
what?
for this kettle to blow.
This is the point, though, of working with a group. All of my toilet paper jobs have been flushed down the toilet, pun intended.
Oh,
Because-
really? What were your
Well,
thoughts?
I was thinking, to disgruntled employees, something like TPing the DMV at night, not wanting to get caught, kind of thing, or toilet paper. I often use it to write things on, to pass messages. What if DMV has run out of printer paper? They're having to do things on toilet paper. But I think that based off of this.
Yeah.
This is a challenge. I like that, though. What are...
Well, I mean, the obvious one to me is stuck on the guy's shoe, but
Question: does the object have to be physically featured, or could it just be a catalyst for a discussion or an argument?
It could be. That's a very good point. It could be. It could be what we find out is when one of them was kids, the other one wrapped him in toilet paper and threw him into the...
Or what if one of their nicknames is toilet paper?
See,
Calls him
that-
TP, and we
Yeah.
find out it's for toilet paper by
It's
the end.
because when he was at school, he pulled up his pants and he had toilet paper the whole day. Okay,
yeah,
I like
hanging
that.
out of
Still
his...
calls him TP.
Still calls him TP.
I was also thinking a way to, like an impetus for the fight, or the straw that breaks the camel's back could be the bougie one complaining about the one-ply toilet paper in the bathroom. That's something
that's kind of what I was thinking about.
That's another.
I like the nickname, though. I like that. I would say that I would think that the DMV worker should have been called toilet paper,
TP.
right? He was the one. Or is it better? This is that's why this is called, guys, this when you're working with your friends, this is pitching ideas. So it doesn't mean that you say, no, it's this. You say, how do you guys feel about this? Because I like that, but then I was thinking, wow, it could be even that there's a very famous Prince song called Pea Control about a girl who's hassled on her schoolyard, and then she goes, you know what, I'm going to own all of you guys one day, and she works super hard and becomes super rich and owns all the girls that used to make fun of her.
So what if the other person?
Yeah, what if that was like he was so sick of being TP? What if then, because he created like a non-stick toilet paper that there's no way
That's how he got one.
no way it gets you
So
can
no
ever
grandfather
stick in
drama
your
anymore,
clothes.
though?
No, but
He got the money from both?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the grandfather drama is better.
well, we can.
I don't know, but
I
I
think
like
we
the
can,
idea
we
of
can,
TP being, maybe he
How
invented.
did that? Maybe that's why how TP? How did you get a Ferrari?
Yeah.
Remember back?
Yes, yeah. Remember back, and and instead of, and then they said, yeah, I thought you were a recluse and a loser. Well, no, he was in his little lab down in the basement trying to come up with the non-stick
Crying.
toilet paper, sobbing, wiping his eyes with his toilet paper.
And it still sticks.
It's still, as he'd come up for dinner and have a little sticky still
what do
on
we-
his
This
So
is
what
all.
do we
This is
do?
all their past history. This won't go on the show.
Right.
Then do we ditch, though, the grandfather?
I'm kind of feeling there's more isn't there a more active role for the TP, that he's self-made, that he bounced back, or is there more bitterness? And these are questions that you're going to ask each other for it. And this is what I always say to my sketch class. I say, listen, there's no bad choices. There's just stronger choices. Is it a stronger choice? And this is what we have to discuss, for one to get passed over randomly, kind of, or one to actually kind of bounce back?
Is it random? Did I don't know if we discussed that. Is it that the grandfather randomly passed over him, or did he give him the money because
he was so teased as a kid?
or something like that?
I don't know. Is it better that that's what I'm wondering? Is it better that he created it as a response to him being teased, or that Grandpa felt sorry for him being teased, or just?
I will say one thing, and I often talk about this in my class. You can have a lot of backstory, but if you have to explain a lot of backstory in a short sketch or a short film, you might want to simplify. So is it what's the simplest, most understandable conflict? Would it be, of course, you have a Ferrari, Grandpa gave you all the money, or is it neither of them had money? What are you doing with a Ferrari? We're from Beaver Pelt, Idaho.
Right.
Well, member, and then that can be taught. Then they can talk about that. Then
I think obviously the first one was simpler because the second one
requires more.
Took more work.
yeah, you're gonna you'd have to explain it.
But
then we'd have to throw what the
we
toilet
still have
paper.
to say toilet paper though. We still So long way around, which is fine. When you're writing, you go down a path, you explore it, and then it may flesh out or it may die. So that one, him inventing it probably isn't the strongest, but he can still be smug about the fact that you used to tease me, and now and I think that kind of sets up a tennis match of repartee of, but I'd hate to ruin your wife's birthday, kind of thing.
So now we're back to the worker was nicknamed TP or toilet paper.
I think we could go either way on this.
I still think so. Where do you land on this, Jeff? The worker or the worker or the?
I think we could go either way on this because either way it's going to be a tool for resentment, which they both resent each other. I think what could be an interesting reveal if we wanted it is that one of them, their initials are TP and they thought it was a nickname, but it turns out they've been like underhandedly making fun of that person their whole life. That could be a big reveal at the end, like, well, by the way, I don't know, something like that. But I think, to me, it's not hugely implicative if you go with either person.
I think
we have to just make a choice.
I think right now, clearly the person at the DMV looks at the rich person and has reason to be bitter.
Okay.
Why is the rich person bitter at the DMV person?
Yeah, that's why I think the rich person should be called TP. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm kind of following that too.
Great.
That he was the loser.
He was made fun of. He was called TP. So I'm still bitter, even though you're working at the DMV.
But then if we're doing the grandpa thing, it's kind of it. If we're doing the grandpa thing, then he kind of is already living high on the hog because he got all the money, so who cares that he was called TP? It might be, and I'm just throwing this out as an option, not saying no to anything. If the guy who's behind the counter lost out and he's TP, and this scene now is going to be about him getting back at this guy for all of the years of these.
So all of it.
And
it's a bigger mountain. I like that.
So the rich guy is not bitter at all, actually. He's just living his best life. They're long-lost cousins, but he doesn't really care, and he comes in, and he thinks it might be no love lost, and then this other guy is like, I'm going to bury you.
Yeah, I like that better, actually, because you're right, because then TP can say, and he can even call him TP too. He's like, stop calling me that. That happened. It was one day. It was one day. Yeah, the first day of school.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, not to digress, but our very first day of college, I caught a cold and I stole a roll of toilet paper out of our dorm that Sean and I lived in, and you had to climb to the top of this hill to get to class. And I got to sneeze. And I blew my nose, and I dropped the roll of toilet paper, and it rolled down Bruin Walk. Past people's feet.
Roll of toilet paper.
So I have
Did you just pretend that you never touched it?
I was such an idiot. I held on to it, like bringing my toilet paper back instead of dropping it and running. So thank God I wasn't
environmentally conscious.
And yeah, exactly. Well, I like that. So there's the beginning there, and so then I think we have to decide, and this is also an acting, guys, when we break down scenes, and we'll do a episode about breaking down a scene, but who wins? Mm-hmm. Who wins? I think classically people always like the underdog to win, but it only depends on how rude and jerky the cousin, the rich,
is.
TV, the whatever the cousin is.
Let's give him a name.
Richard?
Yeah. Dick.
Right. Yeah.
Is he the Ferrari guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Richard's good, and then TP can say, "Okay, Dick," and he's like, "Well, don't call me Dick. Don't call me TP."
Yeah.
You know.
You bring up a good point though, Sean, about how a scene or a sketch ends really is about what you're trying to say about it. Because if it is the underdog wins, you've got a different message than the guy who's got money wins, and the guy who's bitter is going to lose. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's what are you trying to say?
Right. Is the guy going to be contrite and say, "Listen, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry that things worked out that way, and I'd love to have you come to my." Vacation home sometime, or is it the bitterness of the
Do we find out, though, at the end, the big reveal is not that well, of course, we got the whole grandpa thing, but I was going to say that actually he doesn't have the hot trophy wife. He has the old rich woman who he married, and he's now having to do everything for her. Just a thought.
to maintain his lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. But if, we already said that he's got the
grandpa inheritance.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that he's down. And what about this? What about this? That maybe the rich guy isn't actually happy with his life being that rich. Maybe he comes off as conceit, and then he just goes, what, I'm miserable.
Well, that was sort of what I was going with. Maybe he has, not to use a cliche, but the old henpecked husband, overbearing wife who's not the hot trophy that he tried to pretend like she was, and she
comes in at the end as an absolute troll of a person.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been in here for so long.
Yeah.
Get back out the car.
What are you doing?
I love that's your bitter woman voice. That's my favorite thing so far. I don't know who that is. It sounds literally like a crab came to life. Crabby. I like that. Oh yeah. So he wins, and then
who wins?
So
TP?
listen, I like this. So TP feels really strongly, and then he sees that the guy's really bummed about it, and then maybe the guy during the conversation says, "You should come up to our vacation house sometime."
Which guy? Richard?
Richard says to TP, "Maybe you should come visit me." So I wouldn't visit you. And then maybe he sees that going on, and as he's leaving, getting her in, he's like, "Hey man, text me or let me know when you're going to that vacation."
You lost me.
Oh, okay. Richard is saying to TP, or TP is bitter and says he's not going to give it. The wife comes in, he sees how harangued and unhappy he actually is, and then he says, "Hey, I actually will join you on the vacation house sometimes. It'd be nice to get together." Do you know what I mean? Because he finally, he kind of finally realized that, yes, he's got, but maybe we open with him adjusting his really nice family picture, his...
We could do that.
Okay.
Depending on who we want to win at the end here.
Yeah.
Another option would be the guy, Richard, is just, in all of his richness, glory, treating TP like the TP that he used to be.
Right.
And then the wife comes in. And then Richard asks TP, it'd be really nice if sometime you'd want to come over. And we think TP is going to be like, okay, and feel bad for him because he just saw the wife, but instead he's like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
I'm good here.
So listen, this brings up such a good point, and I talk about this, and I will have to make an episode on this, the different types of comedy and things. I've been kind of expanding this and lecturing about it in different classes. Is that there's sweet comedy like Friends that have some heart behind them and some story, or there's like Seinfeld or Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where that isn't.
You're pitching Friends, I'm pitching Seinfeld.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I think in terms of edgier, funnier, I think your way is funnier.
Well, and I think there's kind of a way to do both, where maybe we have this seemingly heartfelt moment where Richard is like, TP, I'm not happy, man. I've got this brutal wife, and if you could just ever come over and, support me and that we could have a game night. And he's like, yeah, sure. We'll do a couple's night. You think there's a reconciliation. Then the crabby wife walks in and he says, actually, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So we get both.
Yeah,
we get the seemingly sweet moment, then a funny button at the end.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they've done that in Always Sunny, and they've done that on Seinfeld, too, where they pull the rug out from under you. So good. Well, now we've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. Talk to me about...
Is that the ending we feel like?
Yeah. I think that's a really good ending. So, Doug, talk to me about outlining and how that should work.
Well, what I usually do, especially if this is really short. So, for instance, like if we were going to sit here and sort of wrap this up, basically it's like, okay, so we've decided that Richard needs to have his Ferrari get the registration for his Ferrari. Okay, so he walks in. So I'll just bullet. Okay, Richard comes in, walks up to the counter, doesn't recognize the guy at first, but the guy behind the counter recognizes him. Then it's that thing of Richard and the recognition of TP.
Right.
Then we get into, we sort of establish that there is this animosity, you know, like you said, like, I haven't been called that in years. I'd say, hey, man, sorry.
Yeah.
Then it's like, how does the rest of the conflict play out? You see that there's animosity. You see that TP doesn't like this guy. However, we're going to have the information come out about the.
She'd be better. It's better to like milk the resentment and us not know for a second or two, right?
Yeah,
or
and then
maybe
maybe you'd see in his behavior, like, well, let's see, what do you have here? Registration for a Ferrari.
Right. Done very well for yourself, I see.
Must be nice.
Must be nice to have all that money to afford a Ferrari. You know. Yeah.
Did you earn all that monty yourself?
Yeah. Must have been a hard work. Must have been really hard work.
How is
that information?
TP? Yeah, then that information will come out. Then how is TP? Then how is the conflict going to rise? So what is TP going to do to keep him from? I'm sorry, this isn't filled out correctly. You might want to take.
Or even what if you did something more petty? Say you have to fill it out, and we say please keep it in the boxes, and he says I did, and he goes I see this N. Went a little over that line.
You're gonna have to start again.
You're gonna have to start again and go outside and start all over again. Maybe I should call security. Wait, you know.
Then that kind of stuff can always lead to that big explosion where the information does come out. You know, you were doing this to me because you've always been so jealous of me just because I didn't have anything to do with Grandpa giving me that money.
Right.
Look at me, I'm living with the DMV. We're working at the DMV.
Right.
So then how is that going to play out? Then what is that? I mean, basically the steps are establish the world, establish a conflict. How is the conflict going to play out? What is the climax or crescendo of the piece, which is the place where it gets to a point where somebody has to give in to the conflict. That would probably be the breakdown that Jeff was talking about, saying yes. You know, and they say money can't buy happiness. Well, they're right. That's it.
They're right. I heard that you got married to Linda from your that you got married to Linda and your family looks really happy and and you take those beautiful trips and you just have this nice life. And he goes, well, obviously you do a Ferrari. It's just a car.
I have to buy this Ferrari for my wife to keep her happy.
Yeah.
So that's Richard. That's Richard giving in to the conflict.
Yeah. So Richard gives in, and then he says, you know what, I'll maybe you could come over and stuff. You know what, that would be nice. I guess sometimes I need to look at how good I have it, you know what I mean? And then the ex-wife comes in, or the new wife comes in, and
here she is.
Here she
Wait,
is.
Can we get that again? And here comes the wife.
And here comes the ex.
And she is a crap. She's not even a person.
Yeah, she's actually like a bitter version of the Charlie Brown cartoon. Yeah. So it's like
I kind of want her to just not even say words.
That would be great. Just like,
Roxy, I think you've been cast.
Thank you.
Look, see that? Creating your own content, and now Roxy
and she's making her own opportunities.
She is making her own opportunities. It's lovely to see. She comes in, and we think. And he gives him a thumbs up, and the guy and then TP goes, nah,
I'm good. Richard says, so how about this Tuesday? Yeah, TP, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, or should he say, should he avoid him and just go, next?
Or maybe this window's
30.
closed.
Yeah. Then he goes, this window's closed. Yeah. Good.
Then it can be like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Yeah.
This window's closed.
This window's closed. And we just see the ex-wife pull him out of why do I keep saying ex-wife? Then he keeps pulling the new trophy wife out. yeah, there we go, guys. Well, beginning, middle, and end from your suggestions.
And a whole character.
With Charlene Brown.
Thank
That's
you so
the
much.
teacher. That's the teaching.
That's Charlie Brown. That dates us. That dates us very much. But this is kind of what you do, and it's so look how much fun we had, guys. Especially, this is my other big note before we go. When you're writing comedy, if you're gonna do a comedy is fun. Have fun. We all sat around here, had a really good time, and so get together with your friends or even yourself when you're writing by yourself. Just make sure you're making yourself laugh, even to smile and joke about it,
And challenging yourself. Think about another option. Yeah.
And you saw us walk down different roads, and it's like a what's it called? Not the a maze where you walk down the wrong thing, then you got to turn back and go back. So
and that's the last thing I'll add quickly is I know Sean touched on it, but you'll notice that none of us actually shot down any pitches. We were building on each other's pitches. It's a yes and mentality.
The yes and mentality.
So that's really important because a writer's room will just completely fall apart. The advice people give is if you're gonna, not lean into an idea that someone else suggests, you have to add to it. You can't just shoot down ideas.
Yeah, and then
I like that, but what if?
Yeah,
exactly.
But what if, right? That great. So this is how you do it, guys, and you can do it with any amount of ideas that you have from your personal life or anything. And so that's how we do it. So Ron, where can we find you?
Everywhere at Roxy Striar, guys.
Mr. Funtabulous?
Everywhere at, actually on Twitter at Jeffrey Seagram and Instagram at Jeffrey Crane Graham.
And Doug, you were saying Playhouse West?
PlayhouseWest.com.
Yeah, for the production class.
For the
screenwriting class. And then I'm at that guy SMW, and I am also at Sean Whalen Peeps on Facebook, at that guy SMW, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you for letting me and us be part of your journey.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.